if you had the keys to the castle, if you had SDF powers for the next wipe, let's say, what would you do? Let's start with Ryan. What would you do? What's like 1 or 2 changes to the game that you would make? What do you think the game needs?
Yo, what's going on, gamers? It's Ryan 6 days a week. And a couple days ago, I was on the Darkest Hour, hosted by Jay and Soma, and they asked me what I would change about Dark and Darker if I had full control. And I only had time to give 2 answers, but it sounds like a lot of you were interested in what else I had to say, so I compiled this video of 101 things I would change about Dark and Darker. In this list, I am going to try to avoid any bug fixes or major overhauls, since I want it to be actual novel changes to the game that we could realistically see in a wipe or so. So, let's get started. First, make keys drop a lot more frequently. Players should be using them in the dungeon and not just as a form of gold storage. 2. Add a gem hoard into all the special key rooms. So, similar to a loot hoard, in which you interact with it and loot it a number of times, but instead of giving items, it gives gems. This will not only decrease the cost of gems, but it will make keys a little more attractive to use. 3. Separate gold stash tab that is shared across all characters. Right now, the shared stash tab is just another form of the gold stash tab. So, hey, just separate it out, make players actually use the shared stash tab for its purpose and not just a gold storage. 4. Make it so high-end hunting loot, primarily from bosses, can no longer be found in normal under 25 lobbies. I'm talking troll pelts and spectral fabric mostly. Since, hey, under 25 lobbies should be where players go to learn to fight bosses, not to farm them. 5. Skull keys and frozen keys can no longer be found in all normal lobbies. Yes, you can still find gold keys and old rusty keys there, but you should reserve the skull keys and frozen keys for HR where you could actually use them. Now, let's move on to merchants and crafting changes that I would add in if I had the chance. Number 6, give the Squire the ability to store arena loadouts. I think this was already discussed by Terrence some time ago, but I really hope this does get added in, as it makes things a lot more organized and it prevents players from accidentally bringing in the wrong gear into arena. 7, give the goldsmith the ability to recover gem, or destroy a piece of gear for a small chance at recovering a socketed gem within. 8. Be able to purchase the mystery brew from the tavern master, which gives a random potion buff or debuff. Luck, healing potion, protection potion, drunk, blindness, etc. This is more of just like a fun thing to do, and restore some of the RP in the dungeon. 9. Similar to the goldsmith function, give the armorer the ability to scrap any crafted gear for a small chance at recovering one of the materials. 10. Change the frost amulet and phoenix choker to craftable epic grade necklaces, but change the plus true value to only 2. Again, this will make sense later in the video, I swear. True damage where it stands, at least on these 2 necklaces, is a bit too high in my opinion. To put it in perspective, one legendary frost amulet in terms of just flat additions to true physical damage is equal to the max roll on the gloves, the rings, both of them, and the cloak. That's essentially having the rolls from 4 different items compressed into 1. 11. Add craftable necklaces for Undead Ward, Demon Ward, and Beast Ward, so 15% damage reduction from each of the specified sources, and this is strictly a PvE focused item since players need a little more help learning the bosses when picking up the game for the first time. Again, this is probably not something that high-end and high-gear players will use, but will provide a little bit help and boost to those players figuring out the game for the first time. 12. Add the craftable Ethereal Beacon, which is a lantern. It'll glow green if a map seed has generated a unique named mob on it, and a trail of mist will emit from the lantern in the direction of the unique named mob if it is within render distance. Named mobs are already hard enough to find, so this will help players not miss their opportunity of actually coming across one. Number 13, add the craftable Obsidian Crystal Pick, which gives you a 10% chance to receive a random gem when mining. Again, this is another one of those kind of goal crafts players can get that don't really benefit them in a PvP perspective, but give them something to do in the dungeon. 14. Add craftable runic offering. This item can be used on an altar of sacrifice when in any dungeon to reveal the location of a specific module. If the module does not exist on the map, nothing will happen. I really just want this item to help with those quests where you have to visit a specific room on a specific map. Number 15, craftable Nether Blossom Elixir. Doubles the yield for herbs picked, but all incoming healing is decreased by 10% for 2 minutes. This is one of those resource gathering elixirs, and it'll make a lot more sense down the line when I add in some more wants. 16, craftable Dwarven Mountain Stout. For 2 minutes, you have a 25% chance to receive an additional piece of ore, but your action and movement speed is reduced by 5%. 17, this one's for those luck maxers. Craftable Eclipse Harmony, a lyre. This lyre gives 25 luck and 25% regular interaction speed. The Eclipse Harmony also constantly emits a faint humming melody when held and in the inventory. 18, craftable Beastbane Elixir, an herblore item. For 2 minutes, gain 5% damage to all beast type monsters. Additionally, and this is the main reason to craft these, all non-boss hunting loot from beast type mobs is increased by 15%. I'd imagine there'd be similar variants for undead and demon. This item in particular, I would hope will alleviate the wolf pelt crisis that Dark and Darker is going through right now, and of course other crafts down the line. 19, make common grade protection potions actually craftable or findable. 20, reduce healing from higher grade bandages. Right now, when you find a purple bandage, it's essentially a faster surge kit. It is pretty crazy. 21, make explosive bottle fire duration increase with quality. Right now, all the explosive bottles do the exact same thing, they're just slightly different colored. 22, damage from explosive bottles reduces healing received by 15%. Just a little more added functionality besides just AoE damage. 23, make bandages and explosive bottles craftable. It'd be nice to have some more crafts and uses for herbs. 24, add craftable sacrificial relic that can be used on any sub-boss corpse to show the direction of the map's boss room. I imagine the runic offering, as discussed earlier, would not be able to show the boss room, just every other module, so this piece will be specifically for the boss room. And it wouldn't be just an overall reveal on the map, it'd be maybe some slight mist that rises up from the sub-boss corpse and blows in the direction of the boss. So you just get a general idea of where the boss is at and not their exact location. Alright, now let's talk the dungeon, general mechanics, and adventure point system. Number 25, when an enemy team is completely eliminated, enemy soul hearts may be looted and used on altar sacrifice to show the direction of the nearest escape portals. More so for newer players to figure out how to get out of there after a good fight. Number 26, all escape and downstairs need a time-gated interaction step. So for example, pulling a lever to raise the gate for around 10 seconds before it shuts, and you gotta do it again. This could be something just reserved for the deeper layers of the maps as well, since the top layers tend to be more easily camped. Add tasks or mini quests that are requested by the individual merchants and reward a hunting loot item in the format of reward tokens. So you get a random option of 3 and you gotta pick one of them. This will help alleviate some of the more hard to get and lower dropping hunting loots. 28. Make all bosses no longer able to target player corpses. I don't know if this is actually a bug or a feature, it's been in the game for so long, but please make this no longer happen. It's especially bad on the Spectral Knight and the Wyvern. 29. Make the Banshee's fog form and the ending sequence to the boss fight much shorter. These two moves really extend the duration of the boss fight and make it quite difficult to finish in time. 30. Reduce the action speed of the Spectral Knight's transition phase, or the double wide sweep attacks. Since, well, if you don't have the best ping, even if you dodge it flawlessly, the server will disagree with you. 31. This is more of a solos problem. Allow Lich's purple circle to be shared with skeleton summons, but also apply the enrage buff to those skeletons. This will make the solo fight for the HR Lich a little more manageable to do, and will have a trade-off if you keep too many skeletons alive. 32. Reduce the splash radius of the Lich's basic range attack, since it feels a little bit too large for the actual visual. 33. Reduce the duration of the Cyclops' mud blinds, but increase the frequency and AoE of the moves. It's an interesting mechanic for the fight, but also it lasts a little bit too long. 34. Give Ghost King more mechanics to create ectoplasm pools, but also reduce the duration that they persist for. Also, get rid of the cheese spots on the sides of the arena, but also reduce the move speed of the Ghost King. The pools themselves should be navigated around while you're dodging that chase sequence, but right now, it's a bit trivial with the cheese spots. 35. Scale all boss health and resistance stats to lobby team size. This one, well, it's self-explanatory. Ghost King can kill in under 30 seconds in a trio. 36. Make all basic wooden doors breakable, but make them take multiple hits unless you're using Crush or some sort of explosive spell. Some combat stalemates involve opening and closing a door for around 8 minutes until both teams decide to leave. 37. Make more wooden door variants to change up the map pacing. For an example, Reinforced Wooden Door, which has 2 times the durability and a higher interaction time. 38. Allow for quest progress and requirements to be pinned to the HUD. 39. Make it so adventure points are never lost, so the minimum score if you die or don't do enough dungeon activities will be +0. You should never go negative. The start of the adventure point season should not mean players need to change their play styles. They shouldn't be afraid to take risk, or be unwilling to play on a specific character just because they got it to the goal rank. 40. Make it so opening escape portals gives no adventure points. Right now, it is by far the best way to farm AP on any map. 41. Make it so traversing deeper into a map doesn't give you a flat +100 AP, but instead make it so it increases AP gained on the previous level by some set amount, or multiplier. This makes it so players will actually explore the maps instead of just opening portals, diving double layers down, and then extracting. 42. Add self-found character option that removes the ability to trade and use shared stash. 43. Add a designated wearable sash for self-bound characters and a nameplate to help identify those characters. 44. Return the old leaderboards, so the leaderboards that track kills, bosses, treasure, etc. in a new tab, but make it so it only tracks self-found characters. 45. Add more gear score weight to all crafted items. Players should not be able to queue into normals matches with a bunch of crafted bis. 46. Add gear score weight to higher rarity secondary weapons. Players are able to bring in legendary and epic secondary weapons to cheese the gear score requirements. 47. Reduce or receive from mineable nodes, but increase the number of nodes found throughout the map. If you are a node farmer, you'll notice that on runes there's that center node, you just mine that and you extract. Right now, players should be more incentivized to explore the rest of the map if they're going on some mining expedition. 48. Make mining a little bit more dangerous by increasing the sound radius from mining, and make it a little more contestable and overall more exciting. 49. Add more value to the double boss reward room in ruins. Right now, there's just about no reason to double boss in ruins. It doesn't really give you any more loot. Alright, now the new player experience section, which will be pretty short since it's only 101 changes, but I wanted to squeeze this part in since the new players are important to me. 50. Give all free-to-play players a second character slot. I can imagine it's pretty disheartening when you're trying out a game, make some progress, and when you want to try something new, so a new class, you have to delete all your progress and start over. So I think giving up players a second character slot on the free-to-play account will really get them hooked to the game, as they could always experiment with another class and then fall back to their main. 51. Auto-equip new player sashes in the Squire loadouts for all accounts that are under 100 hours. This will help players identify new players, for better or for worse. 52. If you kill a player with a new player sash and you yourself do not have a new player sash, you get a minus luck debuff. So it's just the smallest incentive to not farm the new players if you do see them. 53. Fog of War reveal radius should be twice as large for normal mode. Help players learn the game, learn the maps, and also find their way out of the maps. Randomized maps and any kind of Fog of War is already hard enough for new players to get a grasp of the game, so give them just this little bit of extra help. 54. Give players an untradeable gold patch for completing the tutorial. Well, Dark and Darker devs did say that they are working on some sort of sewer-based tutorial map, and this should incentivize players to try out the tutorial and also give new players some form of bulk gold storage. Alright, now let's move on to PvP, starting with general PvP mechanics. Before we move into this section, do know I had to limit this to a couple of classes since we're already more than halfway through the list. 55. Give all two-handed weapons some sort of blocking functionality. The combat in Dark and Darker is meant to be simple, but to me it is just a bit too simple. 56. Give all two-handed weapons some sort of posting functionality. The funnest weapons in the game melee-wise is the longsword, lantern shield, and believe it or not, the flute. Most melee combat is just a game of spacing, but when you add in riposting, blocking becomes worth it. Also make it so the riposte function has less impact power than the primary attack, just so infinite riposting chains happen, but very rarely. 57. Give all two-handed weapons a secondary attack that is activated by holding down the shift key while attacking. This could be a slower, heavier attack with more impact power. Additionally, give this shift click function to one-handed weapons as well to spice up one-handed melee combat. On top of this, give all daggers secondary attack more armor penetration. It's going to be a slower attack, so you should be rewarded for using it. 60. Replace invisibility potions with cloaking potions. So, translucency that de-aggroes mobs but is still slightly visible to the player. Allowing all classes some accessibility to full invisibility is a bit too strong in Dark and Darker, even with the fact that they're planning on bringing in revealing dust. Give the Rondell dagger an on-miss dagger similar to that of the Felling Axe. The Rondell is by far the best PvP and PvE DPS weapon, so making it a little more skill based would not be a bad idea. Okay, now moving on to the fighter class. 62. Break up fighters' weapon mastery into melee weapon mastery and ranged weapon mastery. The fighter weapon mastery really shines when they have access to a fast attacking weapon, so Rondell or Rapier, and also have access to bows, which give them the strong mid-range option. Therefore, make it so they have to sacrifice 2 perks to carry both. 63. Give fighters the Polearm Mastery perk. This perk makes it so a successful melee attack with a polearm type weapon gives a stacking 5% action speed bonus for 3 seconds at a max of 3 stacks or 15% action speed. Additionally, gain 25% swapping speed when equipping a polearm, so you could draw and stow away your polearm 25% faster. This of course only matters if they end up fixing the hot swapping inventory tech. 64. Change fighters projectile resistance perk. Make it so you gain 4 stacks of +5 projectile resistance for a 20% total bonus. Taking any kind of projectile, magical or physical, will remove a stack, and stacks refresh every 6 seconds. So you technically get higher projectile resistance, but need to be a little more strategic on your pushes. Alright, now let's move on to the Ranger. 65. Increase Ranger's backstep skill to a cooldown of 18 seconds per stack. This skill is far too strong for its current cooldown, and it can be casted mid-attack, essentially giving you 2 actions in one animation. 66. Make Ranger's penetrating shot last a bit longer, but make it so it only works with bow type weapons. Seeing it be used with the windlass is a bit game breaking, allows for one shots to happen at range, which I don't think should ever be the case in Dark and Darker. 67. Make Ranger's multi-shot skill be only held out for a max of 8 seconds, and give each arrow a base damage of 30 with 1.0 scaling. Right now, if you run it with the longbow, it basically one-shots any class if all the arrows land. And 2, for the duration, well, it makes a weird stalemate situation if you could hold out multi-shot forever. A class will walk up to you with their shield, you'll pull out multi-shot, and you kind of just stare at each other at chest-to-chest range until one person decides to make the move. 68. Give Ranger's Crippling Shot, the perk, a stacking physical damage bleed for maybe 4 damage over 5 seconds. Right now, Crippling Shot doesn't really seem to be worth it since you're dealing such little damage when shooting at a target's legs. If you give it stacking physical bleed, it could be more of a worth perk to take. 69. Combine Campfire Mastery and Trap Mastery into Master Survivalist, and give the perk an additional +5 physical healing bonus. 70. Give the Rangers some sort of build option that scales with magic. Example, Poison Arrow Tips as a perk. When using a bow type weapon, lose 10% physical power bonus, but all of your attacks apply poison. which is similar to Rogue's Poison, 4 magic damage over 4 seconds, and minus 10% incoming magical physical healing for up to 5 stacks. 71. Give rangers the concussive shot skill. The next range attack applies concussion debuff for 3 seconds, which is the drunk effect, minus 15% spellcasting speed, and it will also interrupt any active channeling. 72. Now this one does affect more classes than just the ranger, but I do believe you should reduce the crossbow damage across the board, but also increase the armor penetration, so it's more of an anti-tank weapon than just a one-shot any class kind of weapon. Alright, now let's move on to the Warlock class. Number 73, make Torture Mastery no longer work on any summon units. Right now in the high gear, high tier lobbies, Torture Mastery plus Hydra makes it so you have a mobile healing shrine wherever you go. It is a bit too strong in that sense. Give Warlock the Infernal Bond skill. Take 10% of your max health as damage and heal if they're friendly, or damage if they're an enemy, all nearby units for 1.5x that amount. Give Warlock the Chris Dagger again, but limit the Demon Form's Exploitation Strike healing to a max of 3 hits. Give Warlocks the Soul Rend skill. Target is purged of all active curses, and you're healed for 8 with half scaling health for each curse purged. Make Warlock's Life Drain spell inverted when casted on a friendly unit. 78. Give Warlocks the Dark Void spell for 5 health. Summon a Void Pool at target area. Targets standing in the Void Pool take 3 with half scaling, damage per second, and lose 5% received magical and physical healing per second. This can stack up to 5 times. 79. Give Warlock's Eldritch Barrage skill. For 4 seconds, lose all magic resistance, but be able to cast all dark magic spells instantly. This skill has a 28-second cooldown. 80. Give Warlocks the Nether Siphon perk. Life Drain casting time is reduced by 0.5 seconds, range is increased by 50%. It also slows non-boss monsters' movement speed down by 30%. 81. Give Warlocks the Raise Undead spell for 12 health. Target a corpse of a non-boss undead or beast type monster and return it to full health. This mob will follow the caster and will not attack allies. Raised monster loses 5 health per second, and only 1 undead may be raised at a time. 82. Give Warlocks the Necromancy perk. Increase the Raise Undead active monster limit from 1 to 3. 83. Give Warlocks the Necrotic Sacrifice skill. After 2 seconds, all controlled undead are detonated and deal 15 with half scaling dark magic damage in a small AoE. Undead that is detonated in a void pool have a wider AoE and also slow nearby targets by 20% for 2 seconds. Alright, now let's move on to the rogues. 84. Give rogues the Cleansing Darkness perk. Activating Hide removes all active debuffs and lose 1 charge of Hide. I do expect we're going to have a lot more Invis reveal tech in the near future for Dark and Darker, so to take that out and reset the rogue, you can grab this perk. 85. Give rogue Shadow Step skill. On the next successful melee attack, leave behind a dark mirror image and teleport behind the target if possible. Any damage dealt to the mirror image destroys it and blinds the attacker for 1 second. I don't think we are out of place for a short range teleport. I think this would fit really great with the rogue's kit as well, especially if they bring down true damage. I want to see rogue as a class rely more on repositioning and less on being invisible. 86. Give rogue the Assassin's Tool Belt. This is going to be a skill similar to Spell Memory. The rogue can select up to 3 different tool belt skills: Caltrops, Smoke Bomb, which currently exist, and newly Flash Powder, Echo Stones, Suffocating Dust, and the Makeshift Padlock, just to name a few. Flash Powder will be a short-ranged igniting dust that disorients and deafens the target for 1.5 seconds. Echo Stones will be small placeable stones that can be interacted with at a short distance of up to 15 meters, and will replicate movement sounds similar to the Yoru steps in Valorant. Suffocating Dust will be a thrown dust pouch that explodes on walls or units and extinguishes any dungeon light sources. So torches, chandeliers, candles, etc. And finally, makeshift padlock, which can be used on any door, lever, chest, or basically any interactable, and will double the interaction time for enemy players. I'm not gonna lie, this last one is more so to make pickpocketing a little bit more fun. Next, and the final PvP class we will discuss is the Wizard. Number 91, give Wizard Mana Infused Blade perk. Attacks made with a crystal sword reduce the target's magic resistance by 10% and return 20 spell points. 92, give Wizard Magic Hand. Summon a hand on an interactable object, then automatically interact with it. Close door, open door, pull lever, turn off torch, etc. 93, give Wizard the Frost Nova spell. After a brief pause, deal 25 with half scaling ice magic damage in a large AoE and inflict chilling for 1 second. 94, give Wizard the Arcane Force spell. Pull all targets in an AoE towards the center and deal 10 with 1 scaling arcane damage and reduce their magic resistance by 5%. I'm sure you could see the synergy here with the other Wizard spells. 95, give Wizard the Mana Ward skill. Channel a wide magic shield in front of you that absorbs all non-melee damage for up to 3 seconds. Damage absorbed from the shield is converted into spell points. 96, give Wizard the Blink skill. Instantly teleport a short distance forward. We've seen movement tech increase as new classes have been added, so I think it's time the Wizard gets a little bit of love, but it has to be with a heavily punishing cooldown. Finally, 97, give Wizard Overcharge Arcana skill. For 8 seconds, gain 25% magic power at the cost of 25% spell casting speed, so more so a heavy hitter but slower hits. My last 4 changes for this 101 changes list is going to be focused on community engagement, which I really do care a lot about. So I hope Iron Mace, if they were to see any bit of this video, they just watch these last 4 points. Number 98, have a monthly community update where information can be provided to the community on some of the cool features that are being worked on by Iron Mace. Now this could be in the form of a live podcast, stream, or even just a short YouTube video. Just give people some cool things to look forward to. 99, utilize the Known Bugs Discord channel to keep the community reports streamlined and let people know that their bugs are being addressed and fixed. 100, share player distribution and game statistics at the end of wipe similar to the stats provided to us at the end of the playtest. It's just something cool to see. It's not quite as important as the other points, but I am a personal fan of those playtest stats. And finally, my last change I would make to Dark and Darker is to add in more cosmetics from community events, so Twitch drops, Discord enrollment, or even merch partnerships. Bottom line is people love free cosmetics, and if it means they're going to be more engaged with the game's community to get them, well, that's a win-win for everyone. Alright gamers, if you agree with any of these points or disagree with any of these points, please comment it down below. I am interested in seeing what you have to say about the current state of the game and what you want to see in the game by next wipe. I wish I could have made this 1001 things I would add and change to Dark and Darker, but at 101 changes, this is already 30 minutes long. As always, thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.